Why do you chase an elusive true self? As if some hidden essence lies buried beneath layers of doubt, fear, or societal pressure, waiting to promise meaning and fulfillment. Why do you cling to the idea that a singular, authentic you exists, ready to be uncovered like a treasure? This pursuit, peddled by self-help gurus and spiritual guides, is a seductive mirage, a trap that keeps you tethered to an illusion. Friedrich Nietzsche, the philosopher who stared unflinchingly into the abyss of human existence, saw through this delusion with brutal clarity. He declared there is no fixed, eternal self. You are not a thing to be found, but a process to be forged. Today, we embark on a journey through Nietzsche's lens to dismantle the myth of the true self. We'll unravel why this search is not just futile, but dangerous. Then forge a path to create yourself through action, will, and fearless embrace of life's chaos. This is no comforting lecture. It's a call to abandon illusions and sculpt your existence from the raw void of becoming. Brace yourself. Nietzsche's truth demands courage to face the abyss and shape your destiny within it. The first trap of the true self is that it's a comforting fiction, a story we tell ourselves to escape the uncertainty of existence. Nietzsche, in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, rejected the idea of a fixed self, seeing humans as a turbulent flux of drives, desires, and contradictions. The notion of a true self stems from Platonic and Christian myths of an eternal soul, a stable essence that doesn't exist. Modern psychology, like Daniel Dennett's concept of the self as a center of narrative gravity, backs this up. Your self is a narrative you weave, not a gem to unearth. Neuroscience shows the brain's default mode network creates a sense of continuity during self-reflection. But this is an illusion, not a truth. In ancient Athens, Socrates urged, "Know thyself," pushing his disciple Alcibiades to seek his essence through introspection. But Alcibiades, obsessed with this ideal, spiraled into self-doubt, betraying Athens for validation in Sparta and Persia, only to die in exile, lost in his own myth. Today, self-help culture fuels this illusion. Social media influencers hawk personality quizzes and meditation apps, promising to reveal who you really are. People spend years in therapy or on vision quests, paralyzed by the belief they must find themselves before acting. To break free, question who benefits from this endless search. Take small steps toward a goal even when you feel unready, and reject societal templates of authenticity that demand conformity. This search doesn't just mislead, it immobilizes, trapping you in passivity while you wait for an unattainable revelation. Nietzsche's will to power celebrates creation over discovery, urging you to shape yourself through action, not wait for a perfect self to emerge. This echoes Carol Dweck's research on growth mindsets. Believing in a static self stifles progress, while embracing change builds resilience. Your brain's neuroplasticity proves this. You rewire yourself through what you do, not what you ponder. In Greek mythology, Narcissus fell into this trap, mesmerized by his own reflection, convinced it held his perfect self. Staring into the pool, he wasted away, unable to act or love, consumed by a false image that led to stagnation and death. Today, people delay starting businesses or chasing passions, waiting to find themselves. On social media, curated, authentic personas of influencers trap followers in comparison, stalling their own growth. To escape, start a project to discover who you become through it. Embrace the discomfort of uncertainty as a sign of growth, and limit excessive introspection to prioritize action. The true self you seek isn't even yours. It's a social construct, shaped by the culture around you, not an innate truth. And on the genealogy of morality, Nietzsche argued that societal values, like Christian humility or modern individualism, mold our sense of self. Michel Foucault's work on power dynamics reinforces this. The self is a product of social norms, not a universal essence. Neuroscience, through Antonio Damasio's studies on somatic markers, shows that your sense of self is shaped by external feedback loops, not an inner core. In medieval Europe, Joan of Arc believed her true self was divinely ordained to save France. Her visions shaped by Christian culture, driving her to lead armies. But when society turned against her, she was branded a heretic and burned, her self redefined by external judgment. Today, platforms like Instagram push idealized identities: minimalist, entrepreneur, spiritual guru. Making you feel your true self must fit these molds. In relationships, you might chase a partner's approval to validate your identity, losing your autonomy. To break this cycle, identify the cultural scripts pressuring you. Experiment with behaviors that defy them, and surround yourself with people who encourage your growth, not conformity. Clinging to a true self doesn't just limit you, it makes you fragile, unable to bend in the face of life's chaos. Nietzsche's concept of amor fati, or love of fate, calls you to embrace life's flux, not resist it with a rigid identity. Angela Duckworth's research on grit shows that adaptability, not a fixed self-concept, drives success. Your brain's stress response, governed by the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, thrives on flexibility, not attachment to a static ideal. In the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna faces a crisis of identity before battle, torn between his roles as warrior and pacifist. Krishna urges him to embrace his duties without clinging to a fixed self, freeing him to act decisively. Had he held on to an ideal self, he'd have been paralyzed. In modern life, those who tie their identity to a single role, parent, CEO, artist, crumble when that role falters. Online, creators obsessed with a consistent personal brand struggle to adapt when trends shift. To grow resilient, engage in varied roles to diversify your identity. See setbacks as chances to redefine yourself, and let go of labels that limit your adaptability. You now see the trap clearly. The true self is a comforting illusion that breeds passivity, a social construct that binds you to norms, and a fragile anchor that shatters under pressure. But recognizing this myth is only the beginning. Nietzsche's true power lies in creation, in forging yourself through will and action. And now we step into that realm. A territory not for those who cling to comfort, but for those ready to sculpt their existence from the raw chaos of being. The first step is to become who you are through action, not discovery. Nietzsche's maxim, "Become who you are," drawn from Pindar through Zarathustra, urges you to create yourself through what you do. Cognitive behavioral therapy aligns here. Your behavior shapes your identity, not the other way around. Neuroplasticity, as Norman Doidge's research shows, confirms that actions rewire your brain, forming new patterns of selfhood. Nietzsche himself lived this in the 1880s, battling illness and rejection, pouring his contradictions into "Thus Spoke Zarathustra." His work defined him, not some pre-existing essence. Entrepreneurs like Sarah Blakely didn't wait to find themselves before building Spanx. Their actions shaped who they became. On social media, creators who experiment with content rather than chasing an authentic niche grow by evolving. Start with a single action aligned with a trait you want to embody. Journal how it shapes you, and act even if the path feels unclear, ignoring the lure of perfection. Your strength lies not in resolving your contradictions, but in embracing them. Nietzsche saw humans as a battleground of drives, reason, passion, fear, ambition. Jung's concept of the shadow complements this. Suppressing contradictions weakens you, while integrating them builds wholeness. Neuroscience, like Joseph Ledoux's work on emotional regulation, shows that acknowledging conflicting emotions boosts resilience. In Norse mythology, Odin sacrifices an eye for wisdom, embracing the tension between loss and gain. His contradictory nature, warrior, poet, trickster, made him powerful, not a singular, true self. In careers, those who balance ambition with humility, decisiveness with reflection, thrive. Online, creators who blend vulnerability with strength forge deeper connections with their audience. Map your opposing traits, act on one then the other to find balance, and reframe these conflicts as wellsprings of creativity, not flaws. You must also create your own values, not inherit them from the world around you. Nietzsche's Death of God proclaims that traditional values no longer bind us. You are free to forge your own meaning. Viktor Frankl's existential psychology, through logotherapy, emphasizes that meaning is crafted through choice, not discovered. Your brain's dopamine-driven reward system thrives when you pursue self-defined goals. In the Renaissance, Leonardo da Vinci rejected rigid roles as artist or scientist, blending both to carve a unique path as a polymath, unshackled by society's values. Today, those who define success on their terms, through unconventional careers or rejecting hustle culture, find true fulfillment. On social media, creators who craft unique niches stand out, while trend chasers fade. Write 3 principles to guide your decisions. Act on them and adjust based on outcomes, and question inherited beliefs about who you should be. Finally, live as an experiment, not a destination, embracing yourself as a process in constant flux. Nietzsche's eternal recurrence challenges you to live each moment as if it would repeat forever, fully embracing impermanence. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi's flow theory and positive psychology shows that growth comes from engaging in the present, not chasing a final self. Neuroplasticity reinforces this. Your brain evolves through experience, not by reaching a fixed state. In the 19th century, Walt Whitman lived this, his leaves of grass evolving over decades to reflect his shifting self. He wrote, "I am large. I contain multitudes," celebrating life as a dynamic experiment. Entrepreneurs who pivot, adapting to failures, outlast those fixated on a single identity. Online, creators who reinvent their content stay relevant, while rigid brands fade. Try a new hobby or skill to expand your sense of self. Reflect monthly on how experiences reshape you, and celebrate each phase of life as a chapter, not the entire story. You now hold Nietzsche's map to shatter the myth of the true self and forge your existence. The search for a fixed self is a trap, a comforting fiction that paralyzed Alcibiades in exile, a passive prison that consumed Narcissus by his reflection, a social construct that burned Joan of Arc at the stake, a fragile anchor that nearly broke Arjuna before Krishna's wisdom. But Nietzsche's tactics offer liberation. Become yourself through action, as he did with Zarathustra. Embrace contradictions, like Odin's multifaceted power. Create your values, as Leonardo defied convention. Live as an experiment, as Whitman's ever-evolving poetry showed. These 8 principles weave a system, a diagnosis that exposes the illusion, and a path to sculpt your being through will and action. But hear this warning. This knowledge is a fire that can illuminate or consume. Use it to create, to rise above the herd, to embrace the chaos of becoming. True power lies not in finding yourself, but in forging yourself anew each day. In the comments, share which of these principles feels hardest to embrace and why. If this journey of self-creation speaks to you, subscribe to keep exploring the depths of human existence. And if this wisdom resonates, your like signals that it must reach more minds.